And here we go.
I'm with you.
Hello, everyone. It's the even more fabulous Mother Love coming to you live and in living color from my Hollywood banner. And we've been having I'm just going to get right to it. We have been having so many just tragic fires all around California. It's like every day something else is burning, and we got fires going on right now. So to help us navigate through this, because a lot of people can relate to this handsome fella sitting next to me, this is Robert Feldman. He is the co-founder, CEO, president, Big Cheese, running the whole thing with his friends called WOWs. Welcome to the program. And their specialty is getting insurance for high-end luxury homes, because the insurance alone will crush you. So first of all, tell me about Robert Feldman. Where you come from, baby?
Oh, Mother Love, I want to first of all say the honor is mine to be here today. I was very excited when Devin and my PR company told me I was coming in today. I kind of smiled. The honor is definitely mine.
Well, see, mutual admiration clubs. This is cool.
Thank you.
And you know what? And I have always said this my whole life. I don't meet people by happen chance. There's a reason for you and I to be together.
Absolutely.
And that is because a lot of people are being really, really anxious about these fires. And we're going to get to that. I want to know about you and your foundation and growing up. And what kind of fellow were you when you were like 12 years old? What did you want to do?
I believe the world started and ended with sports. And I played sports all the way through high school and into college, had a great time. I love it. I'm one of those old school sports people. So I get old and cranky now when I see the younger generation playing football. I go, that's not football anymore.
See, don't
and just having a good time.
See, don't even get me started, Robert. Don't even get me. Now, what was your sport? Football, baseball, basketball? What was your sport?
I was a football player. I miss it to this day.
What did you
day. I'm old and broken down physically. I played linebacker mostly.
You know what? And I was just getting ready to say that. You got a neck like that. Y'all got to have a.
Yeah. I also have the big forehead for that at the same time, as you can see.
See, don't talk about big forehead people now. We got our own club with the big forehead people. Now, where'd you go to college?
I actually bounced around. I finished at Cal State University of Northridge.
Now, are you a native Californian?
Yes, I was born and raised in the San Fernando Valley. So I'm a SoCal kid.
A real one. Real California fella. So now, when you were 12 years old, growing up up where you grew up, what were you thinking you wanted to do? Did you know you wanted to play football?
I love football. I know it back and forth. That's why I'm excited right now, Mother Love. We're almost at the edge of football season. I'm a college football junkie, and man, we're almost there. We're a couple of weeks away.
Look, I can't wait, Robert. I'm starting to shake. I need football. We grew up on football, and my mother was an avid football fan. She even had friends that played for the Cleveland Browns. And so it wasn't anything for us to see Jim Brown walking down the walkway to come talk to my mother. And I didn't know who he was. And I'm just going to keep it real. I know who the guy was. He was just a big dude. And he and my mother were friends. And so we got hooked on football at a very young age. Both of my brothers played football. And that's a brutal sport. You got to be a little touched in the head to want to strap on equipment and run into somebody deliberately to knock them down.
Yep. And it's one of those things where you just get into that kind of sport and it's kind of your play. One of my favorite contacts and clients I still have to this day is Jim Hill from CBS 2 Sports. He is one of my favorite people of all time. I love Jim Hill, and just talking to him, he is the greatest guy. He is the greatest guy.
So what we see on the news is what we get. What we see is who he is.
I think that the news doesn't even show how great he is. He is just an incredible person. And I've dealt with a lot of celebrities in my time doing 25 years of insurance and fire zones and things of that nature. Jim Hill is by far, I say, if not my favorite, he's top 2 or 3 is what I would argue.
That's a really good compliment, and especially in this business when you can see and enjoy the person and and have a good relationship with them. So now you've been living out here in the fire country. When I first came here, they said, this is what we have in California: riots and fires and quakes. Oh my. I'm like, really? That's what they introduced me to. And that's what we have: riots and fires and quakes. What got you interested in the fire insurance?
I'm sorry,
Say it again. Can you hear me? I can see you. Can you hear me?
You broke up. I apologize.
Okay.
Are you there? I think we lost connection for a second.
Okay. Are we back together now?
I think so.
Okay. See, all this technology is cool and everything, but sometimes it's just, that's why it's artificial intelligence. That's why we're having fun with this. What attracted you to the fire insurance industry?
Well, you'll believe it or not, doing this for 25 years, I've always been very community oriented. I was always into solving problems.
Mm-hmm.
There are a lot of different lines of insurance and things of nature. And really over the last 10 years, I saw really what the problem was becoming in California. The problem in California that was really coming was the fact that we were dealing with more and more insurance companies that were shutting down, pulling out. I saw the trend about 10 years ago go in this direction. And man, it's just continued to disintegrate. I have been always on committee or working with senior leadership for multiple insurance companies. And I hate to say it, was really more of the frontline person that dealt with all the high fire zones and helping insurance companies come in and out of California, primarily when everyone's pulling back out. And so seeing all the problems is why we launched the new program, WOWS, WOWS Insurance. We launched it because we're going to affect change, Mother Love. We're gonna fix this problem.
Okay, and when you have a fire and you live in a high rent district and have a luxury home, the insurance already goes up. And when you're in a high fire area, your insurance is even more. What are your thoughts, and why did the insurance companies really start dropping clients and actually pulling out of California?
It's been really over the last 5 or 10 years. And so here's a really scary thing, that this is why insurance companies come like AIG and Chubb and Nationwide Private Client, Travelers. State Farm is going through, as you probably heard in the news, one of the biggest non-renewals in really the history of California. They're non-renewing 30,000 homes.
And where do they go? I mean, can that create a problem when they go to someplace else, when they come to you? Does it does it create a problem because they've lost their fire insurance?
Well, and what happens really is that's what we're fixing constantly. We're a wholesaler. We appoint insurance brokers in order to write business through our program. But really, Mother Love, what we do a lot of is we're just a really good traffic cop. We're getting people to the right places. I'm just doing this direction. Come on, let's go this way.
Okay. Oh, so you're the guy with the connectivity.
Yes.
When they come to you, you can hook them up with somebody who can help them get through that.
Got it. And right now, so we do some retail, but primarily we're a wholesaler, and we really are. I mean, we were designed to be a wholesaler to appoint brokers, but because of how bad the market's become, we've jumped in the frame to help a lot of people. Mother Love, Pacific Palisades is a great example. It's a city just outside, for those that don't know, it's just outside of Malibu. Not Malibu, but it's like the joke, Malibu adjacent. Okay.
So, like that Beverly Hills adjacent thing.
Exactly.
We're adjacent to it.
Exactly. Beverly Hills adjacent. And so the Pacific Palisades State Farm is non-renewing 1,626 homes. That's 69% of the total homes in that market.
So what do they do? Where's their recourse?
Well, the problem is that the insurance system, I use the theory of Einstein's theory of insanity. The insurance industry, really in the last 10 years, is doing the same things over and over again, expecting a different result.
Crazy.
You can't have the definition of insurance. If you really get into it, the definition of insurance it's by definition is a diversification of risk. Well, how do you have a company like State Farm take over 70% of a market? That's not diversification of risk. One major fire bankrupts the company, basically.
And so, and do you think that they're really looking at this like for the long game, or are they just giving up on California and the fire district?
Well, there's many insurance companies that have really. It's kind of funny about. I use the example of a coy dog, half coyote, half dog. Okay, it's the old Western term, and a coy dog basically is what insurance companies are. When they get burned, no pun intended, by fires, they get away from writing policies and pulling back. But if you can show an insurance company how to properly structure it so that they can be profitable and still be competitive for consumers, they come full into the market. That's that other part. That's the dog part of them. So the coyote part of them scares away with fires. The dog part of them runs back in when it comes in with, opportunity to make money. That's our biggest problem right now, Mother Love. It's not competition any longer. Every day I am helping people get to spots, whether it's with me or somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And it used to be that we would be in competition. When I was a broker, you'd have people that were mortal enemies. As that State Farm agent, boy, I'm fighting over tooth and nail. That's not what's going on any longer. Right now, you have a market of insurance where people are banding together, just trying to get consumers to be able to get an insurance policy. I mean, do you understand? I always joke around with everybody. I say, do people understand? This is the big negative. You can't have an entity or insurance not be competitive.
And how do they do that? How do they recoup if they're pulling out of the market? I mean, you're talking about, because Pacific Palisades is, to my recollection, is not that big.
Yep.
For them to have more than 50% of the market not be able to get insured and they drop it.
And that's what we've solved at this point. We've helped multiple insurance companies that we work with and help them come in. Mm-hmm. We even launched a new program, the WOWS program. Mm-hmm. That's where everyone can see with where we're coming from. WOWS Insurance. The WOWS program actually is designed completely different. It's a re-engineering of insurance to make it so that it works for California, and not just California, but Nevada. It'll be Nevada. It'll be Oregon. It'll be Washington. It'll be Montana. We're able to re-engineer the policy. One of the greatest perks is an example which I couldn't understand as an insurance broker for all the years. And when I got to work with the reinsurance, which are the money behind the insurance companies.
Are those the underwriters?
No. So you have underwriters work for insurance companies.
Okay.
So Mother Love, probably the best way I should just to back up and say is there's 4 layers of insurance.
Okay.
You have a street broker, street agent. That could be a State Farm agent, a farmer's agent, an independent agent. Mm-hmm. Then there's a second layer, which applies sometimes, but not always. That's what I am. I'm considered a wholesale or MGA. Okay. Depending on what that is, managing general agent.
Okay.
Independent brokers come to me to get appointed for insurance companies I represent.
Okay.
If you're State Farm or you're Allstate, as an example, you don't have that second layer. You go right to the third layer, which is the insurance company itself.
Okay. So now, in this part, you'd be the middle guy.
Got it.
Okay.
And what happens is there's one layer behind the insurance companies at times, which is called reinsurance. Those are the big ones.
Hold up. I've never heard that word before.
Yeah. Well, Mother Love, that's what I'm educating everybody on, because really why I made it a point to talk about these 4 layers. It's really important for everyone to know these 4 layers. And why? Because it affects it. Because if you think about it, if an insurance company can't get the money,
mm-hmm.
or doesn't,
I'm taking notes just so you know.
Oh, that's fine. If an insurance company, which the third layer, can't get the money from the reinsurance companies, mm-hmm. or facilitate it through its own premium, it can't write policies. So one of the things that's amazing to me when I started working with the reinsurance companies, our policies are the first in California history fully transferable from seller to buyers.
So how is that not a conflict of interest that you work with all these different insurance companies and brokers?
Really? Well,
or
actually,
is it?
Mother Love, it's not a conflict of interest. Actually, it's another thing I would almost make an argument. It's what's needed.
Okay.
Because the reinsurance companies in London and Germany and different parts of the world and in the United States, big money funds or the reinsurance, they mm-hmm. can't see what's going on in the market. So think of me as almost the eyes and ears for them.
Okay.
And the reason for it is insurance brokers, and Mother Love, I was guilty of this. I'm the first one to say this. I was guilty of sin. And what I would say is when I was an insurance broker, mm-hmm. I would get what's called insurance capacity from an insurance carrier. I would go into Malibu or go into Carmel or go into some section of California, and I would write 25, 40, 50 homes in one area. And what would happen is, just from having contacts, being a speaker for the California Association of Realtors and different realtor associations, like Malibu is a great example. Mm-hmm. Malibu has one of the greatest leaders of the Malibu Realtor Association, Susie Manor. She's spectacular. She's been running that for years. Mm-hmm. I would come in and say, hey guys, great news. I've got capacity. The realtors would call up and bring me all their clients, and we'd write 25 or 30 homes. Well, what happens when the Malibu burns? I just handed one insurance company a $300 million loss. So it's crazy. So It's just nuts.
Are they going bankrupt, some of them?
Yes. And so what happens is not bankrupt. They just State Farm again. I'm sorry.
Or rearranging their fiscal
So
aptitude.
Yep. State Farm is a great example. The State Farm was an A-rated company, financial A-rated company. They got so saturated in California that they were downgraded from an A all the way to a B, which is almost junk bond status.
Oh, wow.
That's why the
it's bad when a B is bad.
My days in school, B was a good thing.
Yeah, that's what I'm going. You said it's like a junk bond. I'm like, so the C's and D's don't even make it on the radar.
They don't even make it on the radar, mother love. They're gone. They're gone.
So now, can they recoup from this?
Yes.
These insurance
so
companies?
What we've done and by reengineering is really by early definition spread of risk. That's what the WOW program does. Mm-hmm. We're going to re-engineer insurance in California, and how we're doing it is we're able to remove some of the biggest problems in which the stumbling blocks. And what's great about this is we're more of the larger homes, but what's going to happen is we're going to be copied to death. Mother love, I can't patent this process, and I wouldn't want it patented if it was. And I'll tell you why. Because we're doing very well with what we're doing and how we re-engineer it, but this needs to change, not just for what we're doing, but insurance, home insurance in general needs to change.
What do you see as being, say, the top 3 to 5 obstacles and stumbling blocks that homeowners, especially high-end homeowners, that they're dealing with? Because, us regular people, we think rich people don't have problems. You live in a $12 million house. What you doing with a problem?
Yeah, mother love, right now, they're the ones that are really, it's like the reverse, usual thing. They say, oh, the person with the $12 million house gets all these advantages. And where I live is a 3,000 square foot house. I have all no advantages. Right now, it's the other way. If you're a 3,000 square foot house, you can still get insurance through insurance companies.
Okay.
If you are a 10,000 square foot house, if you get an insurance policy, it could cost you as much as $300,000 to $500,000 a year.
Oh wait a minute. That just went right through my brain right here.
Oh, it's just crazy.
And I don't get it. I mean, I get the opulence of it all. We used to live in this really, really big house. It was the biggest house anybody in our family ever lived in. I mean, I could literally put 20 people in my closet.
Yep.
And we wouldn't be touching each other. And I was like, this is a whole lot of house, and then and cleaning it up. My husband wouldn't allow me to get a housekeeper. And I said, this is too much house for me. He was like, oh, now you starting a trip. Why would you need a housekeeper? I said, because this is a lot of house. He goes, I better not come in here and see some woman that cooking my food that I don't know. I said, sleep with the maid. I don't care. That's less wear and tear on me. The older you get, you got to start doing user-friendly. You got to slow down a little bit. Yep. And he would not allow. I did all, and not that I don't mind doing the cooking and all that, but still, 10,000 square feet, you wouldn't even know who the people were in your house.
Well, and mother love, it really compounds into problems now, because what's happening is so we have the rebuild, right? And we start talking about bigger homes. The problem is, the industry has always looked at it as people go sale price. Sale price, actually, believe it or not, when it comes to insurance, has no relevance.
Okay.
None.
Well, that part you guys don't see.
Yeah, so what it really has to do with is what's the rebuild cost. Mm-hmm. So is a house $1 million to rebuild? Is it $600,000 to rebuild? Is it $5 million to rebuild? What is the rebuild? What does it cost to rebuild? Well, as we've seen in the news and everything in nature, rebuilding costs are going through the roof. I remember back when I first started 25 years ago, we used to think a really high-end home was $300 a square foot to rebuild. Okay. Now with rebuilding costs, you can't build a home, a simple A-frame, unless you're a builder. I should always back up. I always have that one email me, Robert, I can build a house for 300 square foot. And I go, so are you a builder? Yes, I am. Great. Are you going to use all your subcontractors? Yes, you are. Yes, you're right. You can build it for 300 square foot. The normal consumer is not going to rebuild a house less than 300 square foot. It's going to be more like 400 or 500 square foot. Well, as the rebuild costs get higher and higher and higher, you're zeroing out people's ability to get insurance. Mm-hmm. Most insurance companies are now capping out at $2 million on structure, which used to be, I mean, I would joke with you about $2 million. That was 8,000 square foot house 10 years ago. Mm-hmm. Now that same 8,000 square foot house might be $6 million to rebuild.
See, and that's what's crazy. is there a way that, because what it sounds like to me, because you said it, that you all are revolutionizing and re-engineering the insurance, this
Yep.
part of the insurance sector. So you all done just came in, just forget upsetting the apple cart. Y'all done threw the apple cart down the street
Yep.
and just went to carry it on. Let's just start this over. When did you know that this gap needed to be filled?
Well, we knew it because I actually, believe it or not, I built this. I mean, I was on committee working with multiple insurance companies
Mhm.
and helping them come into California, as I mentioned earlier. And actually, believe it or not, this process was really built for an insurance company. It was going to be the next generation of an insurance policy for an insurance company. But this company, the senior leadership loved it. I did a full presentation.
Mhm.
I'm all excited. Mother Love, it was the greatest thing ever. I took my wife out to dinner. We had a great dinner because I had made such a great presentation to this insurance company because I bled the color of this company if you poked me. And, and I was and long story short, always taking care of this company, a big name you would know,
Mhm.
and kind of stuff. And I looked at my wife and I go, man, we've got it. We're going to re-engineer insurance. And one of the saddest phone calls I ever got was about a week later. This company went to its board and the board says, we want nothing to do with California. We're out of here. And so I had to re-engineer, and they go, hey, look, we're going to help you. You go on your way, fix it, kind of thing. And please save all of us.
So when you fix it, come back and get us.
Just come back and get us. And so I know that's where the world is right now.
Mhm.
And what it takes is in anything, any walk of life, Mother Love, we know that sometimes in our lives, we've seen moments where industries, things that come to a boil point, and then someone steps in and changes it, makes it turn left or makes it turn right to get back into the right direction.
Mhm.
That's what we're doing at WOWS. We're
Now,
fixing things.
Is WOWS an acronym for something?
It's so funny. That Mother, that's probably the number one question. Do you know why we called it WOWS?
Tell me. Because I would be going, wow. And see, if it had been me, I would have gone, wow, damn.
Yeah.
That would have been
See,
my name.
well, one, I would never get away with that. I would have been blocked 6 different ways. I would have called it wow, damn. I think that's a better way of calling it. We called it WOWS because bottom line is we want to make sure people come up to us and ask.
Mhm.
So when we first launched this a couple of years ago, this is right as it was getting bad.
Mhm.
And we're just, as we launched officially this year. So when we do a trade show for insurance brokers,
Mhm.
you can probably see by my little thing.
I was checking
Fire.
out the logo.
The logo is fire. And long story short, so our booth looks like fire.
Mhm.
And it's wild about it is when we have appointed over about 150, 200 brokerages, 250 locations across California that are already waiting for the program to really get going.
Mhm.
And what's wild about it, Mother Love, is everyone asks the same question. They'll walk across the room to ask what WOWS means. Well, if they're asking what WOWS means, that means that you have to talk to me. If you have to talk to me, I got you. I got you. I got you right now. And
That's a Jedi mind move.
it was, oh yeah, absolutely. I'm going like this. Jedi mind trick. Fingers are going like this. I'm getting them, Mother Love.
I'm with
Getting
you.
them.
And you got to make them think it's their idea.
Yes.
And they can think of whatever they want to call it. And something told me, I said, I bet you WOW don't stand for nothing but getting them to get people to start talking.
Exactly it.
See, I understand that. When I became Mother Love, and people had to ask me, so what's Mother Love? I'm like, if you got to ask what's Mother Love, something didn't go right in your child rearing.
No,
I'm
it
like,
didn't go right.
every mother is a Mother Love. Or
No.
this one. Is Mother Love your real name? Yeah. My mom and daddy took a little infant baby and said, look, honey, we're going to name this one Mother Love.
Mother Love. It reminds me, I have 2 business partners. Drew Engler is one of my business partners. And another one's, his name is Joel Silver.
Uh-huh.
And I've known Joel for 40 years of my life. Okay.
Mhm.
I brought him with people I know. And what's kind of interesting is he's a former offensive tackle in college playing football. Big guy, 6'6", 340, 350-pound guy.
That's a wall. That's not a big guy. That's a moving wall.
His moving wall. Well, everyone called him Chief from the movie One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Okay. And so when I brought him in, and I'm introducing him to a lot because he was a general manager for a big steel company.
Uh-huh.
Right. And I brought him in to partner up with us because he's got a lot of international connections. There's a lot of great things when he was doing the steel industry. We work with international, obviously the reinsurance, and it kind of like a duck to water for him to come in.
Mhm.
It was so funny. I had to retrain myself because I've called him Chief for like the last 25 years, but I had to retrain myself that when I'm on Zoom meetings, I have to not call him Chief. I got to call him, hey, Joel. This is what we're doing, Joel. I mean, I was on a meeting earlier today with one of the insurance companies, and he was on there, and and I caught myself saying chief twice.
Oh, see.
It's almost like I put a dollar jar in the office and put a
Oh,
dollar in every time I call
listen. Where's my? I got a cuss jar,
well,
and I mostly got it for me.
yep.
Because sometimes you've been in a situation and you really don't want to use profanity, but it's needed.
Yep.
You know, at random, it just sounds vulgar, but when sometimes you got to cuss somebody out, you know,
Yeah,
you got to let them know that you are serious about this.
Yep.
And see, I'm a mother and a grandmother and a wife. I can give you the side eye. Remember the side eye growing up? Did you get the side eye when you were growing up?
Yep. And you know, it's funny. I got a wife because I have 2 daughters that actually gives the side eye and she gives the finger. She's like this. The finger raises.
And you ain't got to move. She ain't got to move.
She ain't got to move.
You don't have to have a
she
gesture on her
finger
face.
goes like this. Yep. And it's like everyone freezes. And it's funny because my daughters freeze and then I freeze, right? And I'm like, wait a minute, I'm not the one in trouble.
You just never know. It might be something that just came back up and you just gotta take it and let it ride.
Exactly.
So, and that's really good when you have a partner and a mate and a family that sees your vision, wants to, you know, be there to support you and what you do. And all the time they think it's, you know, I couldn't even imagine not supporting my husband and him not supporting me and what we do. But first of all, let me ask you this.
Go.
In a relationship with you and your wife, I believe this in any relationship, there's the crazy person and the person who takes care of the crazy person. Now, which one are you?
Which one do you think I am?
The crazy one.
Absolutely. My wife would have came.
Who are you?
Exactly.
You told me when she gave you the finger.
Exactly. The problem is, in Mother Love, I'll say this right now. I could probably go. I have a senior in high school. She just started back at school, senior year for high school. She would come out here and say, my wife would say, she'd point both of us because she looks like me. She's got reddish blonde hair, blue eyes, light skin. She would sit here and Mother Love, she would have the greatest conversation with you talking about insurance right now. And here's a 17-year-old that needs to be a lawyer or a communication major or something, or sideline reporter for sports because she's got such a great gift. And so she even likes to tell me about how she's good at what she does. And that if we were all things being equal to hosts, Mother Love would want to talk to her versus me. And so I kind of smiled. I love that arrogance of her. So, you know, the nicest thing she ever said to me was that when she gets out of college and she has her world, if she wants to come in my world, as long as I listen to her, I can still work for her when she takes everything over. Which she says, I thought that was really sweet of her, is the joke, right?
Because you know she's planning on taking over.
Yeah, she's tough.
You know, that's what they do. Our son kills me off all the time.
Exactly.
Mom, because we only got one son. And I said, I'm leaving it all to cats. He's like, Mama, you don't even like cats. I said, that's why. Well, what about me? What about you? You a grown man. You got a house full of children. That's your job. I did my job. Love, peace, and hair grease. That's what I'm going to do. I used to tell him when he was growing up. He was like, you guys are always on the go. I said, wait till we start world traveling. You know, because in my neighborhood and growing up, people didn't, if they traveled 20 blocks outside the neighborhood, they thought they were out of town. And so I'm like, I want to see the world. And I told him, one day you're going to wake up and you're going to say, well, Mom, Dad, where are you? And we'll go, we're in China. We're in Africa. We're in Aruba. We in Kathmandu. And I got him a globe because he said, I don't know. I've never heard of any of those places. Well, China and the other ones he did. But it's good to be able to get out there for your kids, to get out there and be exposed to the world and see what you do and see the passion that you have. Because just listening to you and seeing the passion that you have and the joy on your face when you start talking about her and your wife, I mean, you just like a little kid, your whole face just lit up. He's like, she can go on over there to do whatever she want to do. And that's great to have that kind of a support system. But did they think that you guys were crazy when you said we're going into the fire insurance business?
Well, you know what's funny? I've been in it. So I was watching it. So I am sorry to say, Mother Love, if you look up every major fire where homes were lost over the last 10 years, I've had clients in them. Every one of them.
How do you deal with that emotionally? I mean, because they're coming at you at such a raw time. You know, when everything that you work for burned to the ground.
Mother Love,
and you got ashes, and then you see them. You say, I'm gonna start getting weak because when I see him, it just gets me. Because I remember we had to get evacuated twice, and I couldn't even imagine. We've accumulated all this stuff, and what am I gonna do? He is the calmest person in the world. He says, we have really good insurance. Don't worry about it. Everything in here can be replaced.
Well, and mother love, it's all about how you do it though, because like let's say for example, you and I are having a cup of coffee.
Mm,
God forbid both of our houses burn to the ground at that moment.
mm.
That's the only pair of shoes you own. You don't have another pair of shoes. You don't have another pair of pants. You don't have a pair of shirt. You have nothing. You don't even have a comb to put through your hair. And so what happens is, and this is why we like when I was a broker prior to going into launch this new program, why I think we're so successful in what it is doing right now with WOWs and helping a point is I've been the one in the field. I see what works and what doesn't work. I see how to and the whole process of we had a whole book on how consumers get back after a fire because to your point, mother love, it's one of the most devastating things a person will ever go through in their life, barring a major loss of a parent or somebody that's loved one. It's and the reason why I say it is everything you own. You don't even how much memorabilia do we all have? It could be a ticket to a game. It could be a t-shirt you got 25 years ago from your grandma that you still want to keep.
That's your lucky shirt. That's your lucky shirt. You know, that's what I'm. You know, from an emotional point of view, from an emotional point, when they come to you in such rawness. I mean, it's like everything is gone, and they feel
well, we
hopeless.
go the other way. We actually are very aggressively in front.
Mhm.
And so, like for example, with the Malibu fire, we had 13 homes go down in the Malibu fire. Okay, my agency at that time, 13 homes. We had all 13 of those certified total losses within a couple days of the fire. We had all 13 of them within 1 week in long-term housing, okay, which is unheard of. Within 2 weeks, almost every one of them signed with architects.
Okay, wait. Where is that magic dust at? Okay,
well, mother love, that's where it comes into play. It's what's wrong and what's broken with our system. The problem is we have people. The best analogy I always use about insurance, about fire zones, especially throughout California. If God forbid you have to go and if you have a heart issue, do you go see a foot doctor or do you go see a heart doctor? I'm sorry. I'm just saying it.
It's the most. It makes the most sense.
It just
where you're ill at, and what's ailing you, and to just even be close to losing everything. Now we did get the safe out with all the papers and everything. And this is I wanted all of mine. I didn't even think about my mother love memorabilia. I didn't, and all I wanted was I had a chest from when the grandkids were little with their clothes and stuff. I wanted that chest, and I wanted my Christmas ornaments. I have Christmas ornament. Our son is in his 40s, and we have Christmas ornaments from his very first. He was born in June, his very first Christmas. And I was like, why would I care about some Christmas? That was part of us. Then I had to learn that I'm not about stuff. Because when you come from humble beginnings like I do, and like I have, when you start getting stuff, you just want more stuff. Then I said I can't move all of this stuff, so I don't need all of this stuff. And then I got a short attention span, and I would have my relatives come up and say, "Girl, take all the stuff out the kitchen. You need to wash and dry. You got little kids." My uncle would come down to our house and with his truck, and and they would say, "What is wrong with her?" My husband would say, "Well, she got a short attention span." So I just when it's gone, and I would say, "Well, I want to have that. This is my life. Put it on the truck. If I want to put it on the truck."
Well, and that's the whole thing.
I'll put it on the truck, but what you gonna take and put? What you gonna move out the house now? Because you can't. And I didn't have any place else to put nothing on. I had paintings on all the walls and just stuff everywhere. And I was like, okay, I don't need this much stuff. And as you get older, but see, that's really hard too. When you're older and you're in your 60s and 70s, and you're thinking you're getting ready to go into your twilight years, and your home burns down, your life burned down.
It's just
how do you deal with that? Because that's got to do something to you emotionally. How do you make sure you?
Well, it was emotionally a great feeling. I had people from different fires that I end up met become clients because they can't find their insurance broker with a gun and a search warrant after a fire. Okay. And so they can't find it with a gun and a search warrant. So what happens is I get called in a lot and asked by attorneys and friends and CPAs, can you help this client out and unwind things that weren't even mine? We were just doing it because it's the right thing to do.
And see, that's why the universe opens up to conspire for your success, so you can continue to help people. Because out here, as hot as it's been, sometimes it seemed like Pasadena was on fire. It was so hot. And then going through the fires, and when which one was it? Was it, I want to, not Pacific Palisades, the one that the electric company
was PG&E. I was up north. Yep.
And burnt the town to the ground.
Yeah, it was Paradise.
Paradise.
Yep. Northern Cal. And that was a really sad thing. And it was a cluster of problems. One, it was a one-way in, one-way out situation. Okay. So meaning the only way you could go into Paradise, there was one way out. And so that was one. Two, they had canopy of trees, where the trees grow up and go like this and they intertwine. Well, when a fire burns trees go straight up.
Straight up.
And so what happens when they arm across, what you basically made is a convectional oven. And so cars out, it just became a really big nightmare. And so, I mean, there's everything from, we're constantly, one of the things that's part of the WOWS program, we actually have part of what we do is we're having our nonprofit built, because we're going to be working on just getting education pieces and things out. Because again, as I said earlier, Einstein's theory of insanity, we're all doing the same things over and over again, expecting a different result. It doesn't work.
How is WOWS going to change this with the re-engineering, to get people to be comfortable with a new way, with re-engineering? Because we've always done it like this, Robert. What are you talking about? We don't need all this.
Mother love, one of the advantages we do have with re-engineering is, in most cases, we're drastically better in coverage than what the bigger homes are getting now.
Mm-hmm.
It's also, as I mentioned earlier, the first policy fully transferable. So when the realtors and insurance brokers, everybody hear it, they love that, because right now insurance is such a problem that when these consumers are in our program, if they go to sell their house, the buyer assumes the insurance. It becomes an asset of the house. The second thing, we're the only ones that do it. Okay. And so now what's going to happen is you're going to see it, and we're re-engineering them in a way so that it will drive the cost down over time.
Mm-hmm.
We did this intentionally. I could have not done this. I could have let it be to open market. What I'm sick of is people are putting Band-Aids on open wounds, mother love.
And just want to, and the Band-Aid most of the time is not even big enough to cover the wound.
Exactly. So we're stitching things up. We're stitching it up, and we're going to heal. And that's what we're doing.
How would somebody get, because you're talking about re-engineering and revolutionizing a whole industry. And you said that you can build this out as well. How are people, responding to you outside of the state of California?
We're getting there. What's funny is we have to be careful. We're in California only. Nevada was great. By the way, I worked with the Department of Insurance Nevada. They are spectacular. They saw me speaking on this and was taking the very aggressive steps to wanting to be involved with what we're doing, because the fact that bottom line is they know that they have problems in the northern part of Nevada. That's going to be a problem for them. And so I love when there's different municipals or entities are proactive. Right now, with California going in the direction it's going, we're going to change it. Here's the good news for everybody out there who's listening, mother love. We have the formula which works with the insurance companies, really works with the reinsurance companies, which is the money. We've got it. We've got the formula to how to fix this so that the reinsurance, the insurance brokers, and the consumers are all in line with what's going to be happy with what we're doing. We've got it by how we're changing it. It's just now we're down to the final nuts and bolts and making sure we get this thing launched. Our biggest problem is going to be time. I wish I could go back to 2 years ago is the joke. I would like to have already been launched while State Farm is non-renewing everywhere. There's going to be some timing issues. So we're bringing other companies in to make sure that we can safeguard. I've worked with a ton of companies. I was on with London this morning. I was re-engineering a policy to help get it so we could get what's called capacity for California. I'm trying to re-engineer it so that we can get additional companies coming in that's even outside of the WOWS program that we can use for consumers now.
Now, how would that work?
So what's happening is, when I went to London, it's one of the craziest stories ever, mother love. When you're
and I get to hear it.
You get to hear it up front. So I go over to London. I have you have to have, when you go meet with the Lloyd's companies or the reinsurance companies in London, which is the big money. That's the money behind the insurance company that I said earlier. what you have is to have as a broker. So I have a great broker. Company's called CJ Coleman.
Mhm.
Okay, they're spectacular. They've been around for a long time. Mother love, you'd love my guy Nigel. If I ever, I'll do an introduction to you.
Hi, Nigel. I just like his name.
Nigel's out there. Nigel is the definition of an Englishman. The guy sends me, he's a little bit older than me, but he sent me a picture of New Year's and he looked like James Bond almost.
Oh, yeah.
Like James Bond's dad is the joke, right? And so he's spectacular. I go over there and he warned me before I get there. And he goes, Robert, I'm going to warn you in advance. He goes, these reinsurance companies really have not done well in California. They're not going to want to hear anything when it comes to California and anything they want to come to with wildfire. So, okay. I said, do you have everything ready for me? And they said, yeah. He goes, so the deal is if we can get one or two maybes out of all these companies we're meeting with and maybe a yes, that's a spectacular win.
Okay.
4 days, spectacular win. Mother love, I went undefeated. Every meeting I went, I brought over, I met with, I got capacity. I showed what we're going to do, how we're going to re-engineer it. Every one of the companies believe that this is the direction and they want in and they're helping us with capacity, bringing in billions of dollars. So now we've collected a bunch of money. Mm-hmm. So now we're getting ready we have to do what's called paper and a few things, but we're close. And Mother love, when you go over there and get told, I love that being an athlete, being a football player, being told I'm supposed to lose, right? I mean, with the way I am, it's crazy. Can you wave a bigger cape in front of me?
Really? And that's when you go in your head, you don't even know who I am.
Exactly. I look and smile and go, here we go. Let's go.
And then they're all excited. I want to ask you about the reinsurance companies. Now, can say, for instance, State Farm as an insurance company, could they also have a division of reinsurance, or are these separate entities?
Well, what happens is a State Farm might purchase reinsurance from a reinsurance company so that they have a maximum loss. So they don't go over a certain dollar amount in any given one event. So that's when they purchase reinsurance from the reinsurance companies. So let's say you're an insurance company, you say, hey, we can never lose more than $250 million in a loss.
Okay.
You would then take your book of business as an insurance company to the reinsurance and say, what would it cost us to buy reinsurance from you, whether it's Swiss Re or Brit or all these different reinsurance companies, Lloyd's of London syndicates. You're going to say, what can we, in essence, we're going to take a maximum risk of $250 million. If we go over a loss of $250 million and it's $300 million, you have to pay $50 million towards it. So it's insurance for an insurance company, if that makes sense.
Okay, you know what? Now I got the dots connected.
And why it's important to start with the reinsurance companies is the reinsurance companies are the ones that take the biggest hits. Mm-hmm. So I had to show, how do we get rid of risk? How do we diversify? So if you're in reinsurance, you and I are a reinsurance company right now, and we put $1 billion at risk, $1 billion with a B. Mm-hmm. The reinsurance company doesn't really know where all the risks are until after all the $1 billion has been committed. And remember earlier, Mother Love, the Robert Feldmans of old were the evil ones. I get that capacity, and I try to spend every dollar of it. Okay, I try to get every dollar of that, and it'd be, I might have I had times where I would get a community, and I might have 4 or 5 homes on one street
that you're covering.
So if you think about it for a second, if I had $1 billion of our money, would you want all your eggs in one basket, or would you want to spread out so that you never have more than one home in a fire?
Mm-hmm. No. If I got $12, I don't want all of them in a basket. Right. So a big one doesn't stand a chance.
Exactly. So what you do is spread the risk. Right. We've been able to prove, the whole world told me I was wrong. Now, the great part, Mother Love, being told you're wrong for a lot of different reasons, is the fact that I was in the field, trenches. I watched what worked. Mm-hmm. I watched what didn't work. And sure enough, when they ran a great company called CoreLogic, is a really big analytics company, mm-hmm. and they ran the numbers for us, we were able to show the insurance companies by simply expanding the risks, 100 risks at a time, almost like a portfolio, but spreading them across California. That was a better investment for the reinsurance companies than putting their money at risk where they have no idea where the money goes.
And can they diversify this money as well?
That's where it goes. So in essence, if you have a $10 million house and you have 100 homes, right? $10 million of total coverage. Mm-hmm. That's 100 homes. Perfectly spread. That means if you're an insurance company and a fire breaks out, it's Malibu all over it. Right? There's 4,623 homes in Malibu. There's probably a total of about 8,000 homes that were exposed between, I'm looking at the mountain where the fire burned. That's where I live. Mother love, you want to get in trouble with your spouse? Tell me your husband when he got busted for this, by the way, on a side note.
Okay.
Fire broke out for the Malibu fire,
Mhm.
came around the backside of the mountain. It blew right through me in my house. I took my daughter, put her in the car with my wife,
Mhm.
and had them drive away. And as I was following them, I turned back around and fought fires for 3 days. Okay, you want to get a spouse upset?
Do
My
something.
wife was pretty upset with me that I didn't leave.
No.
So now, good news, I did save a couple friends' houses. No one
Mhm.
burned on my block, and even though houses. But going back to it again, though, when you get into this thing of spread of risk, if you think about how the money is just simple money, the diversification, it blew my mind when I started first talking to reinsurance companies. Because I'm like, wait a minute, you don't know where your risks are until after. It's like getting a slip and putting $12 at risk,
Mhm.
and not knowing where the $12 comes in and trusting that someone's going to hand you a slip and tell you you're good.
That's crazy.
That was the biggest crazy moment of my life. I couldn't believe it. So then when I showed the analytics and how it spreads out and how we could take the most extreme homes on the cliffs of Malibu, cliffs of Carmel, Santa Barbara mudslide zones, every bad area. But if I put them perfectly spread across where there's only one home at risk, when the fire blows through, in that example, you only have one home at risk. You don't have 100 homes at risk. Well, guess what? One home surviving a fire is a lot better than 100 homes trying to survive a fire.
Or burning down. I've always been fascinated when they have these, especially these fast-moving fires that seems to be burning everything in their wake, and it might be one house on the whole block that was not touched.
Yep.
The fire did not touch them.
And that's all about wind patterns and how the defensible space. Cal Fire, by the way, Mother Love, has done a great job over the last 5 years, doing a lot of great things. It's called, if you look on calfire.org, for those that are out there listening, you can get what's called a thing called Lean, Clean, and Green. And it really is a process of how to fire harden your house so that you give yourself, if you're in a fire zone, if you're not in a fire zone, it makes sense. Because, Mother Love, I'm sorry, almost all of California now is a fire zone, okay? Between wind patterns, different things. I mean, the Malibu fire blew 3 miles per hour. So when the embers were moving on that Malibu fire, 3 miles per hour, the Santa Barbara fire, Ventura fire, insurance companies, there were homes that were on Perfect Street. But the problem was the fire 2-3 miles away were blowing embers that far along and burning houses.
I just didn't understand. I'm still fascinated that people will build a house on a cliff with stilts.
Well,
I'm like, you do know if it rained real hard, you know your house could slide off of the mountain.
And that's the whole thing. But again, though, great example, Mother Love, but it's everything about mitigating risk.
Mhm.
So let's say, for example, that person that built on stilts. Well, what if they told you they drilled down 8 stories and hit bedrock and put the house into bedrock? Would you feel more comfortable with that house now on stilts?
No, I wouldn't. Listen,
It's a better risk than just being 5 foot down.
Well, okay, but the further down you go, the more stability.
So in that example, so
Yeah.
if you do things like Lean, Clean, and Green,
Mm.
and you really fire harden your house, that's going to give you the best chance to survive a fire.
And what is, because I always hear them talking about clearing the brush around your house. If you're in a high fire zone, clear the brush around your house. That makes sense to me. And this one doesn't make sense to me. And you brought this up earlier. One way in and one way out.
Got it. And there's
going
still
around those winding roads
that way.
And there's no lights. I was like, okay, they built this so that if you don't know your way around here, you're not supposed to be over here in this neighborhood.
Well, but again, though, to be fair, I mean, all of California is being built, Mother Love, right now. How many housing communities are being built across California?
I couldn't even begin to count.
Well, and so my joke to you is areas that are fire zones now, when they build additional communities, pull them out of fire zones. And there's just things that you can do. One of the great things I talk about, and I get in trouble for this, Mother Love, all the time.
I love it.
I've given testimony for years. And one of the things I have to admit, I get called. They were making comments about being environmentally insensitive. And I go, I'm not. I have history to defend me. And they said, what's that? I said, because I'm a big believer of when we're in April, May, June, when we're June gloom and it's 75 and 80 degrees and rainy weather or whatever, we should be working on and doing control burns to clean things out. And they go, well, Robert, you're not environment sensitive. I said, stop. If you really study, what's that story? Study history or you're doomed to repeat it.
Yeah.
When the Indian tribes lived here before we did hundreds of years ago, do you know what they used to do when they would go from one for their spring camp to their winter camp,
Hmm.
they'd light everything on fire. They'd light everything on fire. They would walk away.
Mhm.
They'd go away. And guess what happened when they came back? Everything was blooming. There's certain trees that, like
Mhm.
like oak and sycamore, that their seeds won't even open unless there's a certain level of temperature.
So you have to know about all of this horticulture. You have to understand
We do
about
all of
climate.
that.
You got
Yes.
to understand about, overgrowth, undergrowth,
Yep.
and you had said that people always want to tell you that you're wrong and you don't know what you're doing. So you one of them kind of guys, like what they say from Missouri. I can show you better than I can tell you.
Exactly.
Just
An
let
example
my
like
work speak for
us
itself.
supporting Mother Love, there's a spectacular company that's coming out that's live right now that's starting to do things. I have nothing to do with them. Okay, but I just follow and I will pub anybody I think is great. It's a company called BurnBot. And they have this little machine.
Wait, BurnBot?
BurnBot. You can Google it, BurnBot, and you'll see it. Spectacular company. I know that one of the investor, spectacular. It's going to be part of what's going to fix California.
Mm-hmm.
So as a nonprofit, when we have the nonprofit entity of us, when we collect money for the nonprofit side of it, we're going to be investing in things like this because bottom line, again, one of the greatest things I can say of what we're doing is we're not putting a Band-Aid on anything. We're going to fix this.
Okay. We're talking about major surgery.
And we're going to flip it and we're going to fix it. And we're going to fix it not for California, but really for about 8 or 9 states that are in trouble right now.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to be the ones that are going to be the show of why you change this way.
Because this is you're talking about, as you say, re-engineering this entire industry, and we're going to need people like you. How do you get, and what do you do to get younger people to understand this and invest their time, and maybe they want to work in this
Can I tell
industry?
you one of the greatest ones I just brought in that I hired? Smart kid. He's 17 years old. Kid is absolutely incredible. Kid named Alex Newman. Hopefully I don't get in trouble for saying his name. Young kid. Showed me about how he does a lot of internet related things.
Mm-hmm.
Mother Love, we have to have people that help us. Okay.
I can't even turn a TV on, Robert. Listen.
We get it. So
they give me 11 remotes and they go, oh no, this one does this one. I'm like, I remember getting up to go walk over to the TV.
You and I both, Mother Love, we had to go over there. Remember, we had to change the channels. And as a kid, your mom and dad would look at you, get up, change the channel too.
And they thought that a remote was just too lazy. What do you need? The television is right there. Get up and walk across the go over. And I was like, and I can't find them. They have to tell me everything. I didn't know anything about TikTok and Rick Rock and Instagram. And, now I'm on all of them and people are just coming out. Girl, I remember so and so and such and such. I was like, don't y'all be telling my business, because they do. I done told everybody everything, So what do you want people to know and understand about re-engineering this industry?
Everybody needs to understand, first of all, it's like almost bringing down the noise. Mm-hmm. Right now, there's so much noise. There's almost a panic in the market. Right now, there's an insurance company for 99% of consumers out there right now. Mm-hmm. Okay, so right now, it could be the California Fair Plan, but there are other options. Mm-hmm. Okay, California Fair Plan being a policy of last resort. The problem with the California Fair Plan, much like I mentioned earlier, is most brokers don't know how to properly write that insurance policy. And if they miss, it's a bad thing. So do you know what I do a lot of, Mother-in-Law? I get consumers that'll see me on your podcast or to hear me on a podcast. I'll get an email and I'll get, Robert, can you please look at this for me? And I'm constantly fixing people's policies that are not even with me, because I want to make sure they're set right.
That's not why you have a passion for this. You're not chasing the money. You are rebuilding dreams and helping people rebuild their lives and maybe not even lose their houses, but make sure that they could be able to get their homes insured. Yep. So now when you talk about the rebuilding, what is it going to cost? You live in a $10 million house and it's going to cost you $15, $20 million to build it over. Why do you think they stay and rebuild?
Yep. Why do they stay and rebuild? Because it's where they are. They love where they are. And so what happens is, but again, I'm sorry I keep going after Einstein's theory of insanity.
No. Don't you? If you say that one more time, I'm coming over to your house and you're going to have to explain to your wife why you got a bite mark in your forehead.
I just think it's hysterical, Brother Love, that people will rebuild but not build in a way to help defend themselves for the next fire.
Now, see, that just makes entirely too much sense. You would think that you would learn
Yes.
from, losing everything, and now you're rebuilding, and then you're
Yep.
going to do the same thing over again. Now that's insanity.
That's exactly it. And so that's why when I was talking about Alex Newman, bringing him in as a young gentleman, he's a senior in high school, smart kid, super, super smart kid. And he's going to be posting different banner ads and things across the internet because we've got to get the information out.
Yeah.
Just to get, there's mother love, there's so much bad information. Please, anybody.
What are some of the worst? What are some of the worst things that people find out about their insurance?
Well, what happens is, first of all, first and foremost, the worst thing that happens right now is that people find out that they don't, or they're not insured properly, or there's lack of insurance after a fire. So that's the biggest problem. So one of the things I would say, when you ask me what would I wish for, right now we're getting ready to go into fire season. Fire season is typically for us. Fires are burning right now, but they're not dangerous fires. The dangerous fires are really in October when we have Santa Ana's blowing through California. That's the dangerous fires. I just want everybody to be prepared. If everybody out there listening to me right now, please pull out your policy. If your coverage says you're insured for $150 a square foot, either you need to fix that or smack your insurance broker on the side of the head and say, fix it.
And see, that's why you got to work together with them, because things change. You might get married, you might have kids, you might lose a spouse, and you have to keep, rearranging and revisiting your insurance. And I was just so grateful, because that's not my department. I stay in my lane. I do my wifing thing and my talk show thing. And when my husband said, okay, we're insured, everything is covered, don't even worry about that. And then when we start having grandchildren, I was like, because we want to make sure that we leave some generational wealth for the next ones behind us, or I'll leave it to cats, and other teenagers. And they're like, no.
See, my oldest daughter is going to be high-fiving you if she heard you say that, because she'd do that by herself. She's a huge cat fan. She's a huge cat fan. So she'd give you the high five right up smack.
See, and one of our granddaughters, she has a cat. And this is the biggest cat. I mean, the cat got to be this big. His head is almost as big as mine is, right? And he just looked at me. And I'm allergic to cats for the most part.
Yep.
And so I can't be around them for a long time at all. And I was raised with cats. I think it might have been a psychological thing, because my mother had cats and she always treated them cats better than she did us. She said, them cats, I don't have to listen to I don't have to deal with that. Them is my cats. And we've always had, cats and what have you. And when you get what it is that you like, and you go, especially when your house burned down, what would be some of the advice, your top 3 things that you would tell a new homeowner or one who's rebuilding and getting reinsured?
Absolutely. Immediate movement. So the number one thing that an insurer needs to do is to make sure that the insurance company certifies the house as, and that example, a total loss. So a lot of consumers wait for claims to come out to do these things. If there's hundreds of homes going down, that could take weeks. You know what you can do as a consumer? I did it as an agent. I would take pictures and send it into the insurance company saying, here's the address, house is gone. Please certify as a total loss. Because then the next step after that is you have to get what's called long-term housing, right? Where are you going to live for 2 years, 2 or 3 years? Well, you can't get that money to start to get a long-term housing until it's certified as a total loss. So it's the steps.
So the consumer needs to do their due diligence and understand that it's a team effort.
It's a team effort. It should be the insurance broker, but as I mentioned earlier, Mother Love, you and I go for too long. They love us. We have too much fun.
Wait a minute. Well, tell people how they can get about Robert Feldman and WOWs.
Yep. So Mother Love, and I'll just hit it real quick because I know we're less than 2 minutes. It's all about making sure you get certified total loss. It's making sure you get long-term housing and that you get the process going with an architect to rebuild. The faster you get through those 3 things, the faster you are to rebuild.
Now, can you plan for that in advance to have those pieces in place before the fire? You have to wait till your stuff burned down.
You have to wait till it burns. Okay. But again, though, make sure, and the takeaway of all, because I know we're almost out of time, Mother Love, is please, everybody out there, please review your policies and make sure you're at least 300 to 400 square foot at a minimum to rebuild. Please, anyone that has that problem, on the bottom you can see our website. My email is very simple. It's Robert@WOWS, WOWS insurance.com.
It has been my distinct honor and pleasure chatting with you. I don't think this will be our last conversation. I'm just saying. And we want to thank Devin Blaine and the Blaine Group for hooking us up.
Exactly.
And I'm gonna be waiting on my smoker. This ain't no free ride.
Hey, Mother Love, next time we'll do it from here. So you and I will
that'd be cool.
we'll
Know that we love you. Thank you so much for sharing this information with us. You enjoy the rest of your day. Wait a minute, I can't get the button on. Okay, here we go. Peace.